Once upon a time, 3 blind men wanted to see an elephant. The first blind man felt up the elephant's hind leg, and he said, "An elephant is like a rubbery tree." The second one felt the elephant's trunk, and he said, "An elephant is like a large tire." The third one felt the elephant's flanks, and he said, "An elephant is like a huge, flabby wall." Every year, many thousands of people take a look at the Republic of South Africa, and each one of these thousands forms his own concept of the country. If he should find himself in the Karoo, or the Free State, or in the Transkei, or parts of Natal or the Transvaal, he will tell you that South Africa is a country of wide open spaces, of far horizons, and small villages dotted on vast landscapes. A country where nature reigns supreme. Others will tell you that South Africa is a country of teeming cities, crowded sidewalks, skyscrapers, bustling traffic. They will tell you that in some cities they are continually breaking down not so old buildings to put up new ones. Every skyline is dominated by builders' cranes. A 20-year-old building is regarded as an old one, and down it comes to make way for a bigger and better one. A dry country, some will tell you, where mirages shimmer and the ghostly tumbleweed tumbles and dust devils dance. Where it always rains on your neighbor's farm, and rivers have optimistic names. This one is called Strong Stream, and this one, Big Fat River. A small boy has to teach his smaller brothers how to swim in the sand of a dry river, just in case the river will have water when the rains come. An arid country, where the primitive bushman stores his scant stock of water under the sand of the desert, where every drop is precious. Next, the art of diving. A wet country, others will tell you, where wide rivers flow to the sea, and forests are so dense that the sun hardly filters through. A land that yields abundance in many shapes. Strangely enough, the most desolate part of the country yields one of the richest crops. From the arid Peru comes wool to the tune of millions of rand a year. The sheep is shorn of its coat, the wool is sorted, washed, cleaned, and carbonated. Then it is combed, drawn, twisted, stretched, frizzled, teased, frazzled, stripped, stirred, dumped, aired, strengthened, softened, hardened, carded, sealed, spun, spooled, bleached, dyed, lengthened, shortened, and sugar is added to taste. And then it is twisted, stretched, cleaned, drawn, combed, stripped, stirred, spooled, wefted, woofed, strengthened, cropped, skimpered, shrunk, twizzled, aired, worried, harried, woven, pre-shrunk, styled, shaped, and modelled. Of course, the sheep is the one animal that doesn't mind sacrificing its coat to milady. So apparently, South Africa is a country of wide open spaces and bustling cities, windswept semi-desert and verdant valleys, dongas and skyscrapers, unchanging mountains and changing cities, lonely bushmen and hurrying commuters, baobabs and traffic cops, cheetahs and jaguars, vast cities and sleepy villages. A country of diverse scenery and contrasting landscapes. A kaleidoscope country. No wonder that different eyes see different things. But as Shakespeare once said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Because 300 years ago, people moved from Europe and North Africa and swarmed over the territory to settle down, bringing with them their several cultures and languages, ways and beliefs. And today, the country is populated by 20 nations. The white groups merged into one nation, speaking Afrikaans and English. The black people retained their own national identity. And now you have the Pondo with their own peculiar hairstyle, the Tsonga, where the men wear the skirts, the Swazi in gaily printed cottons, the Zulu, who wear mostly skins and beads, the Shangaan in swinging kilts, the South Sutu in colorful blankets, and a dozen other nationalities with a dozen other modes of dress. One thing all the tribes have in common is the fact that their women carry everything on their heads. And on their backs. "30 years ago, most South Africans were farming folk, but then a great industrial boom hit the country. Factories, industries, towns and cities grew on the South African veldt, drawing hundreds of thousands of workers from the tribal homelands, bringing prosperity and slums. Almost overnight, thousands of Bantu streamed to the cities to work in the factories, and the slums grew around the cities at an alarming rate. So vast new housing schemes were built with schools and hospitals and shopping centers. And the Bantu were moved from the crowded, unsanitary slums to the new houses. And now they wear the same harassed expression as the white man, because suddenly they are homeowners and have to cope with things that break and wear out, bills, budgeting, keeping up with the Amma Joneses. The Bantu who live in the city have adopted the white man's dress. The younger Bantu have evolved a style of their own. The Bantu who stayed in their tribal homelands have maintained their own traditions, and the white man's civilization has made few inroads on their way of life. The nomadic bushman will have nothing to do with civilization, and all attempts to teach him or his children are ignored and resisted. But other tribes readily send their children to school to learn the sciences of the white man. Today, South Africa is a highly industrial country, producing a vast assortment of commodities as varied and kaleidoscopic as its topography and its peoples. But the impersonal, mechanistic industry of the white man is strange and foreign to the Bantu. They prefer to make things by hand. This chain, believe it or not, was carved from a single solid block of wood. Each tribe expresses its own characteristics by its handicrafts. Their artifacts are as varied as their customs and traditions. The white population consists of Dutch, English, German, Irish, Scottish, French, Greek, Italian, Slavic, Scandinavian. A dozen European countries contributed to the population of South Africa, and the tribal dress of the women seems to be as variegated as that of the Bantu. The men, of course, sport the same dull, stodgy uniform that men all over the world have to wear, although some civil service departments have introduced a style of dress which is more suited to the South African climate. The architecture of the country reflects the varied origins of its people. South Africa probably has the world's greatest diversity of architectural styles. The old Cape Dutch farmhouse flourished in the early days, and it still fits beautifully into its setting of green vineyards and blue mountains. White Baroque gables, white walls with dappled shadows from the oak trees are integral parts of this gracious and spacious style. 150 years ago, the British settlers brought their architectural styles, and even today, little bits of old England are still popping out all over. The European influence in our churches is very obvious. although the newer churches reflect a typical South African style in architecture. To add to the diversity of building styles, there are the beehive styles of the Zulu, the rondavel of the Sotho and the Xhosa, the angular hut of the Pedi, and the op art of the Mapocho, which is centuries old, but sometimes incorporates a borrowed motif from the European. At this Bantu university, the architect has tried to find a harmonious blend of Bantu and European styles that fits well into the vast South African landscape. So there you have South Africa, a multinational people in a kaleidoscope country with a glorious variety of languages and as many ways of life. Confused? Well, if you are, perhaps you can forgive our three wise men of the world if they think that the country is like a tree and the wall and the tire.